Welcome back, my beautiful people, to Shalina Speaks, where we dive into topics on a daily basis that matter. We like to tackle a topic today that's now more relevant than ever, and that's mental health. I think it's important that we take a moment and sit down and explore the state of mental health today and some of the common disorders that are on the rise. And if you know someone or even yourself who has mental health challenges, then this conversation is for you. So sit back and grab a cup of tea. Sit back and let's jump in. But before we jump in, let's just get started on one important thing. I am not in any way a doctor, a therapist, a psychologist, or anything like that. I am just someone who believes in educating people on mental health and everything that we have going on out here so people can be aware, and then people who are struggling with mental health don't feel alone. So let's just get into it. So, as we all know, the world we live in today can be overwhelming with social media, economical pressures, political challenges, and of course, the lingering effects of COVID-19, the pandemic. Like, we've all experienced some type of mental health challenge, or the majority since then. Mental health has become a topic, if you want to be frank, that I don't think that we can ignore anymore. We hear about it in the news, we see it in our timelines, and some of us are living through it every single day. And if you get into the statistics of it, according to the World Health Organization, and you guys can look this up yourself, it's public information, mental health conditions are on the rise globally. And in fact, depression alone affects more than 280 million people worldwide. That's crazy. That statistic is crazy. Like, this isn't just something that's affecting a few. It's something that's, in my personal opinion, shaping entire communities, families, and even our workplace. These are common challenges that people are dealing with every day. Every day. So again, for those who are struggling with mental health, you're not alone. And in fact, there's a lot of people. 280 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. So again, you're not alone, and it's gonna pan out for you. So let's just get into like some of the common disorders that we've seen increasing. So I want to kind of break down them a little bit if I can, to kind of make them more easier for you guys to understand. So the kind of disorders that are becoming more prevalent are anxiety disorders, depression, burnout, work-related stress disorders, social media addiction, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. So anxiety disorders, I know some of you may not totally understand, but anxiety disorders, it involves feeling anxious sometime, is normal, but an anxiety disorder, that's when you get panic attacks, excessive worry, where you feel like your heart is racing, social pressures are involved, and it's just, unfortunately, a common disorder that's happening today. A lot of us say, okay, well, I'm just feeling a little anxious, feeling a little anxious, feeling a little anxious. But after a while, feeling a little anxious all the time, you might want to go to a doctor and have that looked into, just to make sure that you're okay. You're okay. Okay. And then I mentioned depression. So let me just get into that. And a lot of people don't understand depression. Sometimes it's not just sometimes it doesn't even have to be a thing that causes the depression. And sometimes it can be something that causes depression. And a lot of people don't understand that. But depression is more than just feeling sad. A lot of people get that misconception that depression is, oh, that person's feeling sad. No, it's feeling sad. It's a persistent lack of interest, lack of energy, lack of motivation. Like, that's depression. And unfortunately, that's another one that has been reported a lot on, saying that it's on the rise, which is depression, since the pandemic. So as you can see, these things are very common, and maybe, and I hope not, but maybe you've seen some of these symptoms in yourself, and maybe you could go to a doctor and get them checked out. So, and I know you've heard a lot of people, and I really want to talk about this one. I know you've heard a lot of people saying this phrase is that, I'm just overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. They're burnt out. They're feeling exhausted. That's a common one. And burnt out used to be a buzzword, but it's officially recognized by the World Health Organization as something serious. So burnout and work-related stress is something serious. Lines can become blurred between work and home, especially if you work from home. That can be really stressful trying to navigate through that. As we all know, that during the pandemic, we all kind of worked from home, and we kind of adapted a new life, and with that came new stresses, new challenges, and whatnot. And so, again, if you see any of these things that you can relate to, just go ahead and go out and seek medical attention. Go schedule a doctor appointment and get things taken care of. And so, believe it or not, the way we engage on social media can seriously negatively affect our mental health. And recent studies have actually shown that it increases anxiety, it increases depression and feelings of isolation, especially amongst our younger generations. And so we have to be mindful of that, especially for any parents out there, that kids go through this too. They said 280 million. They didn't say 280 million adults. They said 280 million people are affected by mental health challenges today. And that's a lot. And the most common one, unfortunately, is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. PTSD isn't just is just for a certain group of people. In many people experience PTSD. And many people are experiencing trauma-related symptoms from things like health crisis, natural disasters, violence, or even more. PTSD is a very common one, and it's very serious, and it could really affect one's life. And so that's another one that is on the rise. And just be mindful for your family, for your friends, and things of that nature. So I know you're like, okay, well, what can we do about it? Right? At this point, you've heard all these things are on the rise, and you want to know, okay, well, what's the point of this? The point of this is, one, to bring awareness, and two, to share what you can do about it, which is technically bringing more awareness, right? So what can we do about it? We can't stop life from being stressful automatically. I'm going to say that right there. But we can learn to manage our mental health better, and we can also learn to help our loved ones manage their mental health better. So what do I mean? Well, mental health, there's a stigma around not talking about it, especially in my personal opinion, the African American communities, where it's a lot of people just don't talk about mental health. And I feel that that's important to talk about mental health. But you can normalize conversations in your circle around mental health with your loved ones. Talking to somebody, even if it's just to vent, it can make a huge difference for yourself and a huge difference for them, because now you've built that gap. And you've built that bridge to fill that gap, and now you opened up that pathway for that person to come to you and you to go to them to just talk about it. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're into it with that person, but it just means that you've opened up a healthy level of the relationship in which you or your friend or your family member or even your spouse, your loved ones, to talk about it. The biggest thing is therapy. The next biggest thing is therapy. We can go to therapy. You can go to therapy. Your loved ones can go to therapy. And let it be known, hey, there's no shame in seeking professional help. And in fact, professional help can help you unpack experiences, and it can show you how to cope with those things that maybe you have been struggling with, and create healthy habits, So you want to be mindful of that. And if your loved ones, you see that your loved ones may need some counseling, don't be afraid to. That just goes back to number one, talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. So let's get on to another thing that we can do, which is take mindful breaks, encourage others to take mindful breaks. We can make sure that we have a supportive system. So make sure you have a support system. Make sure your loved ones have a support system, or maybe you are that support system. And you have to be careful because you can experience what we talked about earlier, which is burnout. So even if you deem your mental health fine, and maybe you're dealing with a loved one that has mental health challenges, and you reach out and you want to help, and you want to make sure that you don't get burnout. So it's important to create a strong, supportive support system. Okay? You just want to make sure that you do that. And listen, y'all, taking care of your mental health is just important as taking care of your physical health. It is okay to not be okay sometimes. It is also okay to ask for help. And a lot of people don't want to ask for help. And I get that. I've even been that person, on a bad day to not ask for help. And I get it. But no one has it all together all the time. And you're not alone on this journey. Again, 280 million people struggle with what you or a possible loved one may be struggling with. So if this episode spoke to you, or if you think this can help someone please share it. Let's keep spreading awareness and break down the stigma surrounding mental health. Always leave your thoughts and comments below. I love to hear your stories and your tips managing your mental health. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Shalina Speaks. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Follow me on Shalina Speaks, and you can go to my website, www.shalinaspeaks.com.